Oh, again. I'm going through a series of videos here on the petition to the APA, sort of little fireside chats or living room chats regarding just this and that topic. I'm starting with the petition to the APA. So I kind of give a little bit of a framework for how I kind of arrived at this point. And but the APA, the petition to the APA, arose around 2017. The idea for that from parents, from you guys, a couple of parents, a group of parents, Jason, Howie, Michelle, a few others, um, put together the first petition to the APA. It was from the parents, and they wrote up something. They were trying to apply the established knowledge that I was bringing forward to educate people and to say let's apply established knowledge to fix this. So they wrote up their petition, a little disorganized, but it was a good effort by lay people with the knowledge. But it was very valuable for a couple of reasons. One is it I thought it was a really good idea because it's empowering the parents. And from my perspective at the time, it's not the time, it's still now, I'm operating under standard 1.05 of the APA ethics code. That when I encounter unethical practice by psychologists, I'm required, mandatory by the standard 1.04 and 1.05 to do something about it. Okay, I'm not allowed to walk away. So I've encountered a whole bunch of unethical practice. So I have to do something. 1.04 doesn't apply on this scope and scale. So 1.05. And so if you read it, it's just this continuing arm. Yes, there is. And then I have to take additional action appropriate to the situation. Offers a few suggestions. Part of that, their suggestions is to take it up to the appropriate institutional authorities. Who's the appropriate institutional authorities? Well, first, unethical practice would be the licensing boards. Problem is, the licensing boards are infested with the forensic psychologists who are disabling the response of the licensing boards. So until we get the licensing boards cleansed of the forensic psychologists, then we can't. The licensing boards become disabled, and so they're not responsive. So doing something, I'm telling parents to file licensing board complaints. The response I get back from parents is, doesn't do any good. Yes, I know, because they're infected with the forensic side. Keep filing anyway, because that's the right thing to do. That is your avenue for making an authentic, justified complaint about the unethical ignorance, malpractice of these people. The proper thing for me to do as a psychologist is to tell you that the proper avenue is your licensing board. However, they're inert, they're not going to do anything, and that becomes your problem. So that was one thing I was facing. So then I skip over them and say, well, then who else is out there? AFCC, they are the forensic psychologists. So I went to them in 2017, National Convention, and I have 4 slides from that presentation where I told them, and there was a specific reason I kind of went. I gave them the knowledge, and then I said, these are your competence standards over here. And if you're not competent in these domains of knowledge, you're in violation of the ethical standards. National Convention, did they do any good? No, because they don't care. And so that I know that. So I documented them in that I told them. Okay, so I fulfilled my obligations of informing the AFCC, but that wasn't resolved properly in that fashion. So then where do I go at that point? Well, next group is the American Psychological Association. These are psychologists, forensic psychologists, and they are in the APA, Division 40, whatever, the Division of Family and Law, whatever, Psychology and the Law. So they are in the APA on all the big committees of stuff. These are the forensic psychologists. So the APA should be informed of the ethical violations that are rampant out here so that they can take appropriate actions. So how do I inform the APA? And that petition to the APA idea was excellent for solving that. So the parents, by filing their first petition with the APA, did something valuable. They took down the APA's first line of defense, which is death by committee. So whatever petition you send into the APA, they're going to shunt it off to some committee or some people, and it's just going to disappear and die. Um, so that's exactly what happened to it. But I realized if I send in a second petition that's different, then if it's sent to the same committee, yikes, they're two different petitions, and they need to respond to the separate allegations, and it'll expose the APA. And that was the entire reason I did it. I didn't expect the APA to do anything. It'd be wonderful if they did, but I didn't expect it because I know if they were doing something, it would have already been done. I realized that there was no motivation to solve anything over here because nobody was solving anything, and it is easy peasy. Okay. It's not special knowledge for me. It's family systems therapy and delusional thought disorders and attachment. Okay. These are established knowledge. They're just lazy. They are just absolute. There's no motivation to solve it. So I'm going to expose that in the association or the cover up of the APA. The other thing that does is it documents in for you parents and your allies in the legal domain is it documents up for you potentially for the class action lawsuit. I think you're a class of people. I don't know why you can't come up with a class action law. That baffles me. But you're a class of people who are vulnerable because you have impaired autonomy and you're being traumatized, so you can't organize very well. And so you're a vulnerable class of people who are being traumatized and are being forced to use a special group of psychologists that no one else is being forced to use. You're being segregated out and given a woefully inadequate and inferior professional quality of services. And there's no choice for you. You have to use the forensic psychologist. And then they come up with these guidelines and stuff that are just really a nightmare. And so that would be documenting in the cover-up part of the APA. And for class actions, that's one of the things I heard one time is you want to look for the deep pockets because the lawyers want the money. And so where the damage is going to come from? Who's got the money? And in this case, it's the AFCC and the APA. So my 2017 presentation to the AFCC documented them into the cover-up. They know, they just don't care. And then the 2018 petition to the APA documented the American Psychological Association into the cover-up. Now, I have to give them time to respond, but they've had 5 years and they haven't given you anything, which in my mind, I just want to point out the level of contempt that the APA holds you parents in, okay? That you don't even merit a response from them. You are absolutely nothing to them. You know, when we presented the petition to the APA signed by 20,000 parents, I hand delivered it because I wanted to make sure we got it in there because we're going to revisit this issue now in 2023. So I want to make sure it didn't get lost in the email. I'm hand delivering this to you. So we contacted them. They said, we're going to drop this petition off at your office. And they were kind of like, no. And we said, no, we're dropping it off. So they agreed, and they had somebody meet with us appointed time and accept the petition. But they didn't even, your representatives, Wendy Perry and Rod McCall and I were the three. So you have two parent representatives facilitated by the psychologist for you. And they didn't even give us a meeting room. They didn't even sit down with us and talk about the concerns or anything. They met us in the hallway and just took the bath. That is how little they think of you. They are just treat you with contempt. The American Psychological Association. And they do all this stuff about talking about, oh, we respect the clients and all this other stuff. And no, they don't. Those are just words. Those are empty words they say. Because when it actually comes to parents saying, oh my gosh, look at all the ethics code, they treat you like dirt. Don't even answer. Don't even give you the benefit of a response. It's been 5 years and you don't even merit a response. Now, the other thing, though, interestingly, that the petition that the APA exposes is you guys. because you accept that. You just move on to your own issues because everyone out there for you guys, you parents, is it's what about me? What about me? What about me? I hear that all the time. I say file a licensing board complaint. You say, well, it doesn't work. What about me? It's not about you. If you file a licensing board complaint, you then put that psychologist on notice and that they need to do stuff, and you force the psychologist on the licensing board to cover up over and over again. And so it's not about you, it's about a larger movement, and it's about what you should do. If there's unethical practice, then you should file a licensing board complaint. Does it work? No, because the system is broken. But that doesn't mean anyway. So it exposes that what about me attitude with all of you. And which raises another issue, which is that you don't have any organized parent advocacy groups out here. In ADHD, we have CHAD. Autism has Autism Speaks, a couple others. And in schizophrenia and bipolar, we have NAMI. These are all very, very strong national parent organizations. You don't have anything over here. Nothing. Zero. Why is that? Is it because you can't organize as parents? Partly. And the reason for that is because you're a trauma victim. This is active trauma, active spousal abuse. And so for various reasons, you're kind of focused on your situation and getting out of your trauma, and you're not able to organize like the ADHD or autism parents are. But more importantly, to the reason you don't have a strong parent organization over here is because you don't have any professional support. I work with Jim Swanson in ADHD. I work with Keith Nectarline in NAMI. In all those other domains, I've even worked on the autism and Autism First. So all those other domains, the clinical psychologists support the parent organization. So we'll go out and give talks to them, and if there's legislative stuff coming through, we'll help them move on that. And so there's very active support from the top level, professionals, major university researchers and people, and all the clinicians and stuff, and the parents work together on these. That's why we can get a written treatment plan, like into the IEP, into the Individuals with Education Act. In school systems, the school psychologist is required to conduct a functional behavioral analysis of the child's behavior problem before they're allowed to do any sort of behavioral intervention with the child in the classroom. So they have to conduct what's called a functional behavioral analysis, FBA. It's a variant of applied behavioral analysis. Now, over in the family courts, they don't even know what applied behavioral is. They don't even know the more fundamental applied functional. Forget about it. They have no idea what that is. But over in ADHD, they've got that into federal law that's required, plus a written treatment plan with goals, interventions, outcome measures, and timeframes. It's written into the law, and it's done routinely over there in the schools because of the power of these ADHD groups, CHAD, and autism groups, and the professional supports. So where is your professional support that should be over here? Well, it should be the forensic psychologist. Oh my goodness, they're just exploiting you. They're not supporting you. AFCC is not supporting a parent organization over here. They're just taking your money from you and abusing you. They're abusing you. And the other one is the Parental Alienation Study Group out of the Gardner people. And I had Bill Burnett tell me directly that the Parental Alienation Study Group is not an advocacy group. It's a study group. They don't advocate for anything, except when Bill wants them to. And then they become an advocacy group. But he told me, and Dorsey was sitting right there. So Dorsey was in Venice. We were having a big meeting. I'm trying to get Bill to cooperate, and he just refused to cooperate in any way. It has to be a parental alienation solution. You will accept no other solution if it does not include parental alienation syndrome. No, PAS has to die because we have to hold the mental health people accountable. We cannot hold them accountable to PAS. We can't hold them accountable to standard 2.01, 2.04 once we define it using established knowledge. But Bill doesn't care. He doesn't care if we get a solution. He just cares that the solution is PAS, and he's willing to forget anything else to get that solution. And so he withholds the advocacy or the support of the professional organization from you. So he's not developing a parent organization. He's just using it for his own purposes. And then the forensic psychologists are just exploiting you as well. So you don't actually have a parent advocacy group to help support you in this. I'm kind of it. I'm your lone support psychologist, and you see what I do. That would be what the in ADHD. It'd be what I'm doing here would be considered totally normal. Empowering you to advocate for yourself, totally normal. Autism, totally normal. I know because I'm from there. Over here, it seems really weird. I seem like, oh my God, I'm so unique. Yeah, because it's really bad over here. So I'm going to wrap this segment up, and we're going to move on to the next little piece, talking about once they sent through their petition to the APA, that dropped the death by committee thing. So then I wrote up a petition to the APA. I waited about a year to give APA a full chance to respond to the first one. They didn't. Now I wrote up a second different one, and got 20,000 signatures on that and hand delivered it to them back there. So what happened to that? Where did it go, and how did that develop? So we'll move over to the next video and talk about that.